All right, so about 2 days ago, I was really bored. I had nothing else to do, so I was just messaging a ton of people through my Discord's friends list, and I was pretty much just going through the list and messaging a bunch of people, and some people didn't end up answering. And I had this one great conversation with this person that I went to university with, and we only had one class together. We had one group project together. I wouldn't really say we were friends or anything like that, but yeah, it was cool. It was a good conversation. There was a lot of great points brought up, and we ended up talking a lot about career, about kind of like working, business, that kind of thing, mindset, right? And I am making this video to kind of just point out the flaws in his thinking and his mindset, and how a lot of people are actually trapped in this way of thinking and it holds them back. And we had both two different perspectives, and I think it would be worthwhile to share what he was thinking, what I was thinking, and to explain them and break it down so that people, whoever's watching this video, this is something that's important to know. It's important to adopt the right kind of thinking, the right kind of mindset, so that you can be successful in whatever you're doing. And it's sad to say, but this type of thinking that he had is very common with a lot of software engineers, with a lot of people who are doing just you know, undergrads and degrees and that kind of thing. With that being said, a little disclaimer before we get into it. This is not to hate on him. This is not to hate on or bring any, like, to expose him or leak DMs or anything like that. I blurred out his name. I blurred out all anything that could be potentially identifying. This is just to share and to point out the flaws with this kind of mindset and to show you what kind of mindset you should adopt if you want to be successful. All right, so here's pretty much where it starts off. I have just a couple slides, and right here is where he mentions um, but I should be doing it more in my free time, right? So he mentions that, talks about just a little bit about Copilot, Bedrock, whatever. So this is when I say I try not to work on my free time only if I'm building something of my own. Life's more than work. So that's really the first point I want to bring up is that you got to be really careful about working in your free time. It's really dangerous. I'm not opposed to it. I think it's good to if you have something you want to work on, right? Go ahead, pursue it. But you just got to be careful you don't get burnt out. And the next thing he mentioned is, but if I continue just doing my work at work, I think I'll fall behind significantly. And which in that case, I responded, it's up to you, but everybody could say that this tech is super new for everyone. I'm talking about AI here, and will only change. That's how the industry is. I stopped caring, right? So that's the approach I take nowadays. I try not to let any of this new technology, AIs, whatever, falling behind, any of this stuff affect me. It used to. I used to have imposter syndrome when I was really new, like pretty much my first year of working. He is still struggling with it like 2 years later, clearly, right? But that's really how you got to think about it. This tech is super new, right? I mean, I work with people who have way more experience than me at Warner Brothers, super talented software engineers. This type of thinking never goes away. This type of tech is new for everybody. So, regardless of whether you feel like in your current role you're not doing enough, you're not learning enough AI, you're not learning enough of the new technologies, it really is not worth worrying about at all. It won't cause you any good. And sure, you can take the approach where you don't worry and you take action, but that you might just end up burning out. It's a cycle, right? And this kind of points forward ahead to our conversation where it's like, instead of worrying about what the industry is always thinking, about where the industry is always changing, right? You should just work on something on your own. In that case, you'll be learning, you'll be benefiting yourself instead of trying to learn skills just at a job or just for a job for your career, right? And that's another thing. I think this whole kind of thing can be tied into what social media has messed up people's perception. Where if you're 2 years in to your career, like I'm only 3 years in, so I'm very new as well, you really just got to take it slow. That's really it. Like there's so many things, so much information coming at us nowadays that it's so easy to get overwhelmed and think like you're not doing enough. Where if you're 3 years in out of what, how long, a 40, 50-year-old career? 3 years is nothing. Just focus on getting good habits in your career, doing good in meetings, building relationships, and slowly learning. Like it takes time. It's a slow burn. He asked me what path I would switch to. I would say self-employed route. In a couple years, I won't be a part of the rat race. So this is a big thing I'm working towards. Is trying to be some sort of self-employed. Again, you don't need a job. You just need to make money. There are tons of ways to make money. He said, true, but that takes a lot more effort and work than the rat race. Now, this is something key. When it comes to self employment and taking ownership and trying to build something for yourself, the first thing that points out is, oh, that's a lot more effort. That's a lot more work than the rat race. First of all, that's a misconception. I would disagree with that. That is just a lot more effort. This is just common things that businesses, Starting a business is a lot more effort and work. It is on average, but you get to live a life that you're free. You don't have to, you won't deal with imposter syndrome and that kind of thing when you truly take leadership and have confidence for yourself. I reply in the end, it's worth it. I'm not going to be a wage slave for these companies and their expectations. This type of thinking, a lot of software devs don't have it. You'll see. A man that does not own his time will never be free. Very good quote. I ain't going to do this for 60 years, then die. Living freely is the way. Like One Piece, I mentioned One Piece, it might sound like a joke, but I love One Piece because it pretty much pushes this notion that you got to live free and live for yourself, and you got to pretty much be against the status quo, right? He says, in any case, you'll end up working 60 years because work is purpose, whether it's for a greedy company or for yourself with good intention, it's work either way. Completely don't agree with that. Very stupid way of thinking. Why would anybody want to work for a greedy company? Nobody really wants to work for a greedy company. What people want is freedom and they want to live a life by design. The only way that's going to happen is if you invest in yourself and put effort into yourself to build something of your own, right? It is going to be work either way, but it's work that you'll want to do. Nobody wants to randomly be called into the office 3 times a week just to do meetings, just to do work that benefits the company. You're building stuff for somebody else. You're literally a slave. You'd be more passionate, enjoy the work, but realistically, you'd be working all the time. Another common misconception. First of all, you can do this could happen in any other job too. Any tech job, you can be working all the time. Look at Amazon, for example. So pretty stupid. Second thing, it is a lot more work for sure. You're going to be working different hours, but the fact is, you get to choose those hours. You get to choose the effort, and you'll be working, but you're more passionate about it. I don't think most people are passionate about their day jobs and working in corporate, right? Because what is there to be passionate about? You don't own anything there. You're just another number. They can let you go tomorrow. When you have something that's your own, you're going to put more work into it. You're going to put more time into it, and the payoff is way more greater, right? Also, it's you're not going to be working all the time. You can definitely just take time off too. If you want to be business minded and successful, you can't fall into all these cliches of oh businesses are risky, they work all the time, you're never gonna have time for anything else. It's stupid. So my response to all this is that the problem isn't working. It's about putting that time where you want it. That's simply put. Time is a limited resource. I've talked about this before. You want to put it where you want it. For these companies, you're just a slave. They just want your hours. They want you to put it in, and you will get nothing from it at all, except for money. It's an exchange of services, but then you get laid off, and then you have to deal with the market, right? There's nothing benefiting you. There's nothing long term there for you. With the internet, we can use it as a tool. There's never been this much opportunity in the history of humankind where we have our phones, these devices where we can literally communicate with anybody in real time. We can network, we can create content, we can create online businesses, whatever. This has never existed before, yet most people won't take advantage of it. They'll just put up these cliches saying work is purpose, you'll be working all the time, you'll never have any free time, it's more stressful than a real job. All BS, in my opinion. 100% is work, but it's about, again, as I said, putting that time where you want it. Just build something for yourself on the side. That's really what it comes down to. It's really simple, but as you can see, it wasn't getting too through to him, and he was just giving these cliches. Bunch of BS, in my opinion. All right, so he also mentioned here you can grind work in big tech a few years and retire with 1 to 2 million net worth. What's the difference? See, this is just stupid because it's just not true. Salaries in big tech are big, they're a lot, but they're not enough to get you to retire with 1 to 2 mil in a few years. Complete BS. And how are you going to think like this, that you can do this in a regular job, but you think in a business you won't be able to do that? He's making a big tech job sound more lucrative than a business, which we all know is just BS. The only way you can do this, retire in a few years with 1 to 2 mil in net worth, is in a business. You will never be able to do this in a job. A job is designed to keep you working for the 40 to 50, 60 years until retirement and nothing more. You will not be able to um, retire in a few years, even in big tech. The salaries are big, but they're not that much where you can just work for a couple years and then live off $1 million. Complete BS. So then over here, he says, if you find yourself bettering yourself and moving in a positive direction, taking leadership, it'll be very beneficial for you to work for yourself. But the majority of people waste their time. So having someone who puts pressure via deadlines and the risk of losing your job definitely acts as a motivator to be better. Complete victim mindset thinking, completely stupid way of thinking to think Majority of people waste their time. First of all, I don't believe that. If you have a degree or if you're studying, you don't waste your time. You know how to meet deadlines. You don't need somebody micromanaging you or putting deadlines on you and putting pressure for you to succeed. Like, we're not kids. Okay? Completely stupid way of thinking to think the majority of people are like that. I disagree. I think a lot of people have more potential than they realize. You just need to awaken it within them. That's the first thing. Second thing, this is something that can be learned. This is some sheep, very NPC robot way of thinking that people waste their time, therefore they will need to work in a job. That's exactly what the corporate jobs want you to think. That's exactly what society wants you to think. And you should not think this way. If you want to be successful, don't think that you have to have deadlines that other people have to put on you, that you are beholden to somebody or some company greater than you. I mean, this type of thinking will get you nowhere. You won't be successful if you think like this. It's really stupid. And the risk of losing your job definitely acts as a motivator to be better. Again, are you even living a life that you want if the risk of losing your job is how you're living? Completely stupid. Nobody wants to live like this, I can tell. You have one life. Your time is limited. You don't want to live in fear. You don't want to live in imposter syndrome. You don't want to live in anxiety. And you don't have to. With this type of thinking, with most people have nowadays, you will, but you should adopt a better way, which you can kind of read through my messages and you can see how I think about things. So that's pretty much it. That's the convo we had. I didn't go through every single message. You could pause and read it on your own if you want. But the main takeaway here is that a lot of people are boxed into this way of thinking. They have to go to school, they have to do the route that they need to do. And once they get the job, right, they're going to have deal with imposter syndrome. They're going to deal with anxiety. You're not going to be really purpose or fulfilled. You're definitely not going to be free. And a lot of people think that that's out of reach for them. The fact that freedom, financial freedom, time freedom, um, the fact that you can build something of your own and actually be successful, a lot of people think that's out of reach, that that's out there. You can definitely see that from the convo. He was saying people want deadlines. People, it doesn't work for most people. Why not? We live in a time where anybody can be confident, anyone can be a leader. We have the tools, right? We have AI, we have everything. The only thing that stops you is your mindset. That's why if you read these books, I mean, I mentioned the Bible. Bible talks about that a ton, where you shall ask, you shall receive, right? You got to put yourself out there. If you read books such as Think and Grow Rich, The Secret, talk about manifesting, it's it's simple. It's really as simple as adopting your mindset. If you don't have the right mindset and you're trapped in this victim mindset kind of mentality where you feel like you need a job, you feel like you have to work, you will never live a life that's fulfilling. You will never live a life by design. You will never truly be free because you will always be a slave to the company and the people above you, and you don't need to. That's the point I'm trying to make. Again, I work at a job too. I don't see myself doing this long term, but the main message I'm trying to pretty much put is that you don't have to pursue that side project, pursue that side business, take a risk on yourself, bet on yourself, and don't fall into this line of thinking that you need to work a job and work hard and for what payoff really, right? If you don't put your time where you want it, you will never be free. And nowadays in the world we live in, this type of thinking won't get you far. It's better to be a leader than a follower, and anyone can do it truly. I'm just a regular guy doing it too. So hopefully you enjoyed. I do want to do another video about this, but it'll be a more positive one where I helped mentor somebody to actually land an internship pretty much from scratch. That one I'll go into more depth about my career and stuff like that. But hopefully you took something away from this and to show you how I think versus how other people think. So again, thanks for watching.